Welcome to the Intercut podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he wants people to think, who's that prick and how can I be more like him? It's Arturo Zurita.
Out of all the lines you could have given me, you should have seen Flamin' Hot. You would have had a couple ones.
I know, right? I would have had a better one for you there. We also, as always, when it comes to our film festival coverage, we're joined by someone who's not a feminist. Her favorite show is Entourage. It's Amanda the Jedi.
Excuse me? I specifically said that you had to use the gay and untalented line.
Oh, I misstepped. I will amend that in the edit.
Intercut HR. We got you.
We're back at another film festival with a lot of exciting movies to talk about. A lot of movies we really loved. My first South by Southwest, Amanda's first South by Southwest. Art, you are the veteran amongst us. So I have to ask you, how did 2023 compare to previous editions of the South by Southwest Film Festival?
Suck. We had our ups and downs. I think in terms of like our own stay personally, it was interesting to get y'all here and have a location that was prime for getting there. And it's a good thing that we're always outside of it, because when it came to how they developed South by after the pandemic, 2020 was the first year they shut down. 21 was online, and it being in March, y'all know that's when everything went down. So to see them bounce back last year was really cool. They've amped it up to another level. I was explaining to you all that South by isn't just a film festival. It's a music festival. It's a tech festival. They got XR. They don't even call it VR anymore. It's XR. And then the food. Shout out TIFF. Shout out Sundance. Never been to France. But you're not.
Food ain't good in France.
I can smell my barbecue leftovers over there, which is why we're keeping this to the top 10.
Yes.
No, they were able to expand it to a degree that I thought was fantastic. They really used a lot of Austin. We were able to go, every four corners. Below the river, above the river, all of the pop-ups that they had. We have so much swag we were able to pick up. And I think overall, for you guys who just experienced a really great Sundance, how was South by for you?
I had a great time. Started off a little rocky. We've had some issues with the Airbnb that have just
cleanliness issues.
Major cleanliness issues. Let's just say I cleaned sheets. I cleaned sheets. I slept in sheets for a couple nights without realizing it.
Oh dear. That's worse than down low. Yeah. But with all of that, just like we said with Sundance, with a broken car almost dying.
With a broken car.
That was still a great festival.
It's still a great festival.
If you can overcome all that and still have a good time.
Yeah, I had a great time. This was great. And like the movies were fun, but a lot of those pop-ups were really interesting. They did some really cool things. Like I got this dope jacket from Amazon. I don't know if we can pop in a picture of the back.
Yeah,
but like,
we'll do a little.
Because it's hard to, I don't want to, but like it's dope. They did a custom design on it. So like that's cool. Just like all sorts
of stuff. Going to different places and being able to get like pictures of...
like we got Yellow Jackets hats. The Yellow Jackets pop-up was awesome.
Yeah, you can see some of our posters.
Some of the movies were able to have
Cora pics, even though there was no... She didn't she didn't play guitar with the pick.
Yeah, it's just crazy stuff from all the different pop-ups that you can go through. The Adobe houses. The Swarm stuff was really cool for the shows.
Tetris squeeze toys and Rice Krispie treats we got.
The cheese graters that they were giving out for Evil Dead. So, like, when you come down here...
You don't leave empty-handed, for sure.
You don't leave empty-handed. Yeah. You leave full.
Or empty-bellied, yeah.
How'd you feel about the audiences?
Well, that's something that is also really interesting because, you get a really fun, raucous atmosphere at, like, TIFF midnight screenings. Yes. The occasional Sundance screening at the Eccles can be pretty loud and fun. Nothing really compares to seeing a movie in the Paramount Theater.
Yeah.
And there are times where it's almost excessive. Like, I don't know if I needed an applause break every 2 minutes in air, but it is something special to be in an audience that cares that
They shut it down a couple times. A couple times people would be like, like they shut down a couple times.
It's like the midnight TIFF crowd at 3 p.m. for whatever reason, right? And that's because they're drinking 24/7 in Austin.
Yeah. I've never been fed more free booze at a festival.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Right?
Yeah. And look, if that's like the reason you want to go to one of these things is to party and to go see things and go to installations. There's a lot to do beyond just seeing the movies here, which is exciting. Yeah. Like for us who tend to spend like day and night in a theater to have some more variety in our schedule. A lot of fun. The movies, it's a pretty different slate than what you get at Sundance or what you get at TIFF. TIFF, it's a lot of like sort of bigger movies and movies launching their Oscars campaign. Sundance, you really get like a nice smattering, a bunch of different stuff. The docs are really interesting. The foreign films are really interesting. South by is fun. It's genre, it's horror, it's comedy, and there's some action thrown in there too, but it's it's really just like a crowd-pleasing festival from the bottom up. And there's a lot of fun to be had. There's a lot of movies this year particularly that were a lot of fun. So we had a really great time here.
On top of that,
for sure.
all the Sundance best movies are playing here. Talk to me with multiple screenings. Theater Camp
that should have had multiple
surprisingly,
showings.
yeah. But,
they probably would have if they played it earlier in the fest. That was a last day thing.
Exactly.
Well, that was our way to plug those movies that were also here as well.
Talk to me, guys. We mention it as many times as we can because it is the horror movie to beat this year.
Absolutely. We will get into some of the movies that we're really excited about in just a little bit. But why don't we start it off with some honorable mentions, the movies that we enjoyed but weren't quite in that top 10. I think we have a lot of similarities in our top 10, so I think it's going to be interesting to see what movies we want to give a little bit shout out to because we don't want to forget about them. Art, why don't you kick this off? What are the films that just didn't make that top 10 for you?
I got a good 15 here. Some of them only because I didn't get to the ending of them. So let me begin with these over here. There is a massive one that Alina ended up adoring. I only got to see the beginning of it after our 12-hour drive. I had to snooze. I had to get here. But we still got the link available for this one, and it seems to be a hot one. Chronicles of a Wandering Saint. Okay. This is a movie about... It pretty much feels like, from Sundance, what do we call Mama Cruz?
Oh, Mama Cruz.
It's like the prima to that one. It's the cousin. It's about this like woman who, from what I saw, gets made fun of by the whole community because she's like overly religious. She prays right where the sun falls on the pew, and if it moves, she moves as well, and everybody's aware of that. So that's an honorable mention there. But Alina, she has it in her top 3. Okay. With Love in a Major Organ, another one that we still have the link to, was one that I was very excited for. It was very quirky.
Edited by Every Frame of Frame.
And that's the main reason why I wanted to put that on the radar over here.
Unique. It's unique.
Yeah, because it's already a story about this woman who tears out her heart because this is a world where everything's made out of objects instead.
And feelings kind of like discouraged.
Exactly.
Kind of feels like The Giver a little bit, like,
I just love that a lonely woman rips out her heart for the man she loves, only to discover he's run away from it. So that's fantastic. Like you mentioned, Tony Zhao, he has this thing in the beginning where when he cuts to the credits saying editor, they're scissors. Yeah. The writer is a pencil sharpener. Yes. Of course. Nice, So if you love his videos, of course you're going to love the feature as well. But the 3 that I did get to finish, and I was hoping that you guys get to see these soon, The Ordinaries, a meta film where the whole world is a movie set. It's, I'm trying to see right here what language, it's in German. It's from the Match Factory, and pretty much it's this girl who is a side character, but she's trying to be the main character. And in search of her father, who may have been cut out of another movie, and maybe ended up becoming an extra. It's weird. Yeah. It never fully like becomes incredible, but they do some funny stuff in there that it keeps you intrigued for the entirety of it. So The Ordinary is a very interesting comedy. Monolith.
Fuck you.
I wanted y'all to see it.
Dude, we thought it expired the 17th.
Don't blame me. Blame the PR team. Yeah. Y'all need to get this out there because
I tried so hard to get them to answer me again.
With an actress who was in another horror film that had some of the most hype, Evil Dead. It will not appear on this list. We got a review for it. But this is where she was cooking. Lily Sullivan did some really good work with this because it's just her in one location recording a podcast. And it goes places. I'm so
excited. I'm so angry.
And the sound's so good there. It's a very audio-heavy story. I was watching it off my laptop. It scared me, bro. I thought something was behind me, so it's just at number 12.
The one I'm most frustrated that I didn't.
Yeah, so
we tried so hard, but like last night, air went an hour late, so there was no hope.
I've got the scrapes on my knee to prove we tried hard.
We tried.
And then my last one. This was battling with one of my top 10s right here, but because my 10 is leading more through a 4, and this is perfectly at a 3.5. Flamin' Hot, one of my most anticipated. Eva Longoria with her first directorial debut about the janitor, the man who created Hot Cheetos, and he pitched it to the company. Fantastic story. We got a whole review for that as well. But
they gave out Flamin' Hot bags.
They did get Flamin' Hot bags, and I didn't even get the Cheetos. I got the fries. So I got the Cheetos. But yeah, those would be my 5 from there.
Nice. Amanda, some honorable mentions.
Yeah, so very depressed about Monolith. Still upset about that. Same thing with Citizen Sleuth, but that's fine. It's more that like they gave it to me and then they stopped answering.
Yeah, right.
They didn't even give me a no. They didn't even say, no, that's just when it expires. We can't do anything about it.
Let's talk about the press side of it, if y'all don't mind. There is a very interesting thing that happens when you're on the field to do things. And obviously as YouTubers, it's a completely different mode for us because we're not outlets, but we are outlets.
Yeah, we're our own
just outlets for ourselves.
Yeah.
That's a little difficult for them to recognize. They'll play the movies where you're supposed to believe in yourself, but then when it comes to it, you know, the festival's still corporate to a certain degree, but even outside of that, it's the dealings that we have to do with PR companies. It's been very fascinating reaching out to people saying there's no links while we're watching people log it online.
Before the festival starts.
And again, we don't mind not getting a link, but it does suck to see PR companies hold back their movies. Us not getting it, that's fine. Yeah. But we said there's a pattern. Those PR companies tend to get their movies stuck on Tubi.
And we're talking to people on the ground of the festival and realizing like who's getting links and who's not getting links and who's just not responding to stuff.
Or how you have to.
Right. And it's a shame then too when, you know, we have easy access to these movies from Apple, from Amazon. And
say it.
And it's the small guys that just won't throw
Tetris
a bone.
is on his account fully.
Yeah, they would have given it to me too. They were like,
4K.
we got a ticket for you, but if not, we can also do in 4K.
Why is it the most difficult to get the narrative and not the headliners?
I got a ticket for the Disney Plus show, American Born Chinese, in a Google form. Like,
we got all of Childish Gambino's new show.
Without even asking for
without
it.
even asking
was
for
it
it.
called?
Huh?
Was
Swarm. I keep that in the H. But yeah, that's the part that gets us because it's not about like an ego thing for us. It's literally they're ruining their movies. We're movie fans. First, the amount that we watch.
Exactly.
Between this video and Sundance, we're nearing 200 movies. Yeah. We're clearly psychopaths who love the movies. Yeah. And it just sucks to see when they're hurting them.
We want to help you. Help us help you.
Yeah. Help you.
Yeah.
All right, Amanda.
Yeah.
Let's get back into it.
I get it.
Honorable mentions.
First up for me, I think I'm going to go with Late Bloomers.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just really nice. But then it also got some tears out of me because you've got like the multi-level story here of a woman who is kind of both dealing with a breakup that she absolutely has not gotten over, but then also, I don't think it's a spoiler to say the mom has.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
that's something.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, she isn't dealing with her mom's health
illness. Yeah,
situation.
her mom has a health situation and she's not dealing with it well, and it's kind of like wrapping into how it's affecting her life going forward. And then she kind of suffers like an accident and has to get a hip replacement. And then
I mean, a lot of this movie is Karen Gillan walking around with a broken hip and just doing like interesting physical bits.
Yeah.
I actually had this as my like last cut off my top 10. I was really charmed by it. Yeah.
That was your first movie. You were like, yo, this
but
might...
it was really good. Yeah,
I liked it quite a bit.
It's really charming.
It's a
Because
great
you swore that was going to be in your top 10.
There's a lot of movies that I like.
And that's not a bad thing at all.
No, No, so I really like that one. I think it's a good one to keep an eye out on. So I thought that one was really good. And then one I thought was like really unique and was just missing like a little something to just really push it over the edge into being great. Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah.
I know you didn't like it very much, but I don't like, it just got me. It's basically, it's all set as like this old, I think maybe 60s or something. 70s talk show where you're going against Carson and he's talking about it. And it's like, this guy has suffered a tragedy and this is like his first show back since that tragedy. And he's kind of like tying it all into like the occult and, you know, cold reading psychics, but then it progressively gets more intense as it's going.
I mean, there are these like the 70s talk shows, they tend to do these like, they did these longer segments with lots of guests and they brought on these like interesting people and it sort of like takes that mode but makes it about this kind of possession Satanism kind of thing that's really dark and interesting. And I do think that movie's like stylistically at least like very interesting
cool.
and unique.
Yeah, stylistically. The story might lose it for a bit of people where they either don't
a little bit for me.
go far enough in areas or just draw things out in the wrong places, but I do think it's worth watching just for like how it's stylistically putting together.
I think I'm closer to your opinion than Art's on it.
The practicals though?
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. I was real happy to have caught
And David's good.
Yeah, he's really good.
Great.
And I almost, honestly, I was like ready to knock out last night and they started watching it and I stayed up like a little bit longer just to get to a little bit more parts and I was like, I gotta go to bed now.
Good sign.
More lead roles. On top of that, another two Australian brothers coming in with the horror. Just like in Talk to Me.
Something in the water down there.
Yeah, something in the water. On my way.
Any more honorables that you want to bring
I'm
up?
going to put Joyride in there too. I won't talk about it too much because we did a full separate video about Joyride, but this is definitely like the easy crowd pleaser choice. It does go a little raunchy in areas, but it's very exciting, very fun, very nice. So it's an easy recommend in my opinion for Joyride.
Nice. I will go with my honorable mentions. A quick shout out to Americana, like a fun classic bag of money movie, you know, just an ensemble cast all trying to get the same valuable thing. And I feel like it's pretty hard to go wrong with something like that, especially when you have a cast full of strong character actors like Paul Walter Hauser, Sydney Sweeney.
He's great.
Yeah, a lot of really good people in that cast.
Let me shout out War Pony because she got to shout that at con, and that's like the perfect flip side of the indigenous kind of story in the modern age. This one's a lot slower though. The pacing in Americana. When he mentioned Wild Tales, I was like, okay, I see what you're going for.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison with that too. If you were the last, I mean, it might be like so quirky you'll overdose on it, but I think there's just it settles into a really charming and actually kind of introspective place. A movie that it's all about the dialogue between these two, and it really is winning in like I feel like it's very relatable in points too. And I also love that homemade aesthetic that they use.
Two astronauts stuck in space and realize, what if
we banged?
What if we banged?
Classic scenario.
Yeah.
Air. I feel like this is maybe going to be on somebody's top 10, but like
my number. No.
But a just very fun, engrossing story of the creation of the Air Jordan sneakers. Ben Affleck, really good film.
It's fun.
Yeah. I'll also give a quick shout out to one of the best docs I saw here, Satan Wants You.
I want to catch up on that one.
I thought it was really interesting, just the way in which it shows how this sort of one person's testimony led to the satanic panic and grew into this sort of like outsized crazy idea, all based on some shaky.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I would add to that Satan Wants You and Horror
Late Night with the Devil. They go
perfect
Great double feature.
Yeah,
because you have a lot of that in there. One of my favorite parts about the way that they call it, the baby stealing Satanists. For the documentary, they do this thing where they take a lot of the music from classic horror movies and mash it up to create the score to this movie. That's raw.
Yeah.
And then what they're also touting is the fact that they got the original recording of what happened to this possession.
So never
and
before release.
And never before release until South by. So.
But it's also just like a really interesting story of like therapy gone awry too.
Yes.
I don't know. There's a lot there. I think it's really interesting. I'd give it a big shout out. One more honorable mention that I'm going to skip over because I'm pretty sure you covered in your top 10. So we should dive into the lists unless you want to throw out any other like honorable prize winners or something.
Yeah, in terms of docs, I'd say that there was a slew of pretty good ones. I know one's going to make your top 10, but you like Max Roach as a drummer?
Max Roach, the drum also waltzes. I mean, he's just a fascinating guy, and it's a good bio doc of his life. Comes from Sam Pollard, one of the co-directors who we've shouted out plenty of times on the podcast. So yeah,
3 decades in the making for this doc. So I thought that was a fantastic one.
I mean, there were a bunch of profile documentaries that I don't know if the filmmaking necessarily stood out that much, but
you're like. Yeah.
They're all compelling and they're all well done. And, you know, I think for me, one of the ones that I enjoyed the most was Hung Up on a Dream.
Talk about it.
Yeah, the story of the Zombies and how this band that is really this like classic of that era of British rock didn't necessarily get the same success that a lot of their contemporaries did, and how they're kind of still working on that success.
Yeah, that idea of like you don't even realize what you inspired until way later, and you're like, couldn't you have told me that early on?
At least they were still alive.
Yeah, at least they were still alive, and that one came by Robert Schwartzman of the Schwartzmans. So and producer Tom Hanks. So I really like the way this one was shot as well. But yeah, you have one of my other docs on your top 10. So from there, you're right. Let's get into it.
All right, so my number 5 is Briskets. My number 4 is Terry Black.
The real stuff right there.
Micklethwait, I think, best blank that I've had.
Micklethwait,
the beef rib, though, like
the beef rib. Yeah, I kept hyping
falling
up Terry
off
Black's.
The
the bone.
turkey has no business being
that was pretty good.
Yeah, shout out to Terry Black's turkey. Did not expect that one to be the one that hit there, but lots of good food.
Uncle, nearest.
You did as well.
I had a good time with that.
You may have inspired an argument between me and a security guard, but you did as well. Anyway, let's get into the top 10s. I'll start us off here with a movie that I think we all liked. I might have liked maybe more than y'all. I'm going with Pure O.
Yeah, I liked it more.
Coming up.
Okay, cool. All right, well then I can wait a little bit before getting into it. What are we talking about? Yeah, well, so it's a man who realizes he's suffering from OCD.
Complex OCD, I think, specifically.
What was it?
Complex OCD, I think, specifically.
Well, it was pure obsessional, pure O.
Yeah.
And it's a form that manifests in different ways, whether it's for him, like, violent thoughts or thoughts of you're going to get cancer or impair your health. And one of the things that's really interesting about it is the way that it dives into all the different aspects of OCD and all the different nuances into how it manifests in these people's lives. A lot of the film is done in therapy, but it's not therapy sessions that are like just moments for the characters to explain themselves, but it's moments to really dive into the complications of it and how it's hard to coexist with like have a happy life and also deal with all this. I don't know. I found it to be really, really emotional and really, really raw. It like triggered a little bit of my own issues. But yeah, I don't know. It not necessarily the most comfortable watch at times, but I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
It'll come back up for both of us.
It's gonna come back up for both of us. Yeah.
That's exciting to hear. Why don't we get to your number 10, Amanda?
I'm gonna go with Air. I think maybe that's recency bias, but like, cause that's like the last one we saw. But I thought it was.
We came out. She bought Jordans. I was like, "What are you doing?"
Dude, no, that's the thing. I got like unusually into sneaker culture over COVID.
Really?
I started getting fed random sneaker videos, so I'll order random shit sometimes that I don't always wear because I don't fit or they don't look good or they don't feel good on my feet sometimes. But I just love like I want a pair of these Sakai's that look like the Mighty Ducks logo so bad, like the color, like I want them so bad.
You're gonna have to record profiles now for Amanda the Jedi.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so like
just stand up.
Yeah, so I was really interested because I remember like there was like a scene in the midnight club where the guys got Jordans on, and I was like, those Jordans didn't exist in that year. So like I was interested to see.
Flag of the field.
Yeah, I was interested to see. So I kind of had a good time with that creation, and again, we do talk about it in detail, but just that realization that like they built the Jordan around Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan.
Yes.
They banked on a potential of a rookie that had one good play in a game. And now it's an empire. I just had to assume that like he was already Michael Jordan when they were like, we gotta make Jordan 1s, we're gonna make Air Jordans, we're gonna like, but no. They banked their whole budget on that.
Company.
So their whole company, the whole basketball area of Nike.
Yeah, in my review, I said it's the journey from idea to iconic.
Yeah,
right?
And it is a little. Sorry, I didn't.
No, you just see the conception of the thing that became a phenomenon.
Yes, and it's just like I get that it is a little bit Nike propaganda-ish, and as long as you acknowledge that going into it, it's fine. Yeah. They make some interesting choices, but I overall I thought it was really good. You get a ton of all-star performances because it is just stacked. It's directed by Ben Affleck. He's in it. We got Matt Damon. We got Viola Davis. You know, just so many people that I don't even need to name all of them. If you just look at the cast list. Is there a better
cast?
I don't think.
Not at this festival.
Not at this festival.
Maybe not this year.
Not in ages.
It was the craziest Q&A to be in because so much freaking talent was in front
so
of
much
us.
there. Like it got the standing O, probably just for the cast. Yeah. That's
Viola
all.
got a standing.
But it is just such a pleasure to have a movie that goes from a scene that where Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are yelling at each other to a scene where Viola Davis is like, on the phone giving an excellent monologue.
Yes.
And there's so many amazing performances in that film.
Yeah, so that's my number 10.
All right, let's go to you.
I'm going to keep mine brief because while I have bottoms at the bottom, y'all have bottoms at the top.
Yeah.
But it had to make my top 10 because this is, while they came out loving it, we kind of had the inverse of what was Shiva Baby. I know it's going to grow on me. Yeah. So I'm gonna keep it brief. It's going to come up.
It's going to come up.
My number 9, I don't think you got Story Ave higher on your list than me.
I do have Story Ave a little bit higher.
Okay. So I'll save that for when it comes back around.
You have the premise on.
Well, it's a young man overcoming his own trauma and navigating life between this street art gang that he's in and his new relationship with an MTA worker played by Luis Guzman. And I kind of feel like any movie that is built on the premise of a meal with Luis Guzman can save your soul is onto something. Beautiful. No movie left me in a bigger puddle of tears than this one. So I got Story of Ave at number 9.
I kind of forgot about that one. I also really like that. I put it's still an honorable mention for me, but it's still
should be mentioned.
Yeah. So my number 9 is another weird story of an origin you never would have thought of, Tetris.
Okay.
Again, some of these, like, I don't know if these are the right orders for them, but like, I had a lot of fun with Tetris. Tetris, I honestly assumed was a Japanese game, but I think it's just because I hadn't actually heard of it. She doesn't write for
Deadline.
I haven't actually heard of Tetris before, no. But like, it's just like, I honestly thought it was a Japanese game, but I think it's just because it grew so much in Japan. And this is kind of the story about the guy who got the Japanese distribution rights in Taron Egerton, but then it kind of does this whole weird kind of like KGB espionage thing because of like the way that Russia does their communism. The way they were doing it was, oh, you have an idea, now we make the money off of your idea, and it's from Mother Russia, you know? It's like, we have an idea.
Characters practically say, hello, my name is capitalism, and hello, my name is communism.
Yeah, so it is a little bit over the top there, and honestly, it's like you're also now just telling the story from someone else who hasn't done any of the work, and it's just putting in the capital to try to make more money off of it somewhere else by buying a cheap license. So that's a weird thing.
Like, am I even cheering that on?
That's what I mean.
But it's a crazy story.
It's so crazy story about how it's like these people were selling rights they didn't actually have, and then some of it was just how it was specifically written in contracts so that they didn't think they sold the rights, but they did sell the rights. Just wild shit. So I thought it was really interesting, though it does have a downfall issue in that it was so committed to these interesting transition scenes that there were moments where it should have just hard cut to somebody's reaction or someone's face, but then they insisted on doing the transition scene where it would be like, Tokyo. And like, you didn't need it in that moment. You could have done it after the reaction. Do it after the reaction.
I've never seen something be such a post-edit job. Maybe we should add Tetris titles. That's how it came off to me.
I mean, it's pushing close to that 2-hour mark, and one of the things that I've heard from people who like to end in is that it could probably be trimmed down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it is part of this thing that we've been talking about, and there are a lot of these very interesting movies that show you like how the thing that you know is iconic came to be. And I always love finding more about those stories, learning more about those stories.
Another one like Air, where I feel like Tetris is for the whole family, but it's rated R.
Yeah.
I don't even, there's, like, I know what makes...
There's a couple things.
Yeah, a couple
like,
F-bombs and air for R, but I don't know what it is over here. My last one is, what do you think of the car chase scene?
Do you think it was goofy?
I think it's the goofiest thing. And if cinema dies, I know why.
You'll find out March 31st. That's the
Apple.
closest
So it's a
release.
little bit more like some Lego movements than Tetris.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Fast and Furious has influenced the wrong things. But Taron's beautiful.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic.
All right, let's get to your number 9.
My number 9, I think, is going to be higher for y'all. Self-Reliance.
Yeah,
I got that a little higher.
It's a story of a guy who realizes, after a very weird encounter in a limo, that he has been chosen to be hunted by people. And if he can survive 30 days, he gets $1 million. All he has to do is be with people, because if he's ever alone, the hunters can kill him. Nobody believes him. We'll talk about it more in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we got a review of that one too.
We have a whole review for there, but it's probably the most consistent. It's not the loudest I laughed, but it was the most consistent I laughed in a movie. Shout out Jake Johnson.
My number 8 is definitely higher on your list. It is Problemista, the Julio Torres
That is
film.
also my number 8. I mean, my number 7.
Okay, well, we're coming to that soon. It is a story of an aspiring toy designer who needs to get a job in order to retain his work visa, but it is so uniquely through the mind of Julio Torres. Like, it's not only hilarious and a very offbeat, quirky. I don't want to say quirky because that makes you think like Zooey Deschanel. It's offbeat,
It's offbeat.
but it also has these very interesting visuals. Again, we had a full review of it, so you can dive into our thoughts there. But yeah, Problemista, really cool film.
3 on the top 10 though, right?
Yep.
Let's go.
It's our first one. All right, so my 8 is Problemista. I think your 8 is Problemista as well. Let's go back to Art for his number 8.
Joyride. There was something about the way that this hit that I thought was funny.
Yeah,
it's one of those where so many people are laughing in the movie theater that I feel like we missed a fifth of the movie.
Yeah, this was the hardest movie to hear just because of the crowd reactions.
We were just talking about the crazy cast that is in Air, but the actors in this probably work the best off of each other. I think there's another movie you guys would probably argue for. I'd argue for this one. I think this has the best balance because all 4 of them are going on this journey. 4 friends who are Asian American that really plays into the movie. So while it's produced by Seth Rogen and his partner Evan, you have like fresh jokes in this. You have the same cliches that would be in a studio comedy, but this is the studio comedy that I feel since the pandemic we haven't had back.
Yeah, no,
but we have 2 of those coming up.
Absolutely. And this is one of those movies like The Hangover in that these are all people who've done things prior to the film. After this film, they're all like names.
And also, that's a great point, because you forget that Bradley Cooper's in The Hangover.
Exactly.
Because now he's writer, director Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
And I expect the same thing for all these actors here.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're already Oscar nominated.
Exactly. That one is released on June 23rd.
In
so you don't
theaters.
have to, in theaters. So you don't have to wait
Rightfully so.
too long to see Joyride.
That was almost in my 10. That's like,
No, you gave it the honorable.
yeah.
exactly. All right, my number 7, it is the only doc on my top 10. Ooh. I've got Citizen Sleuth here. I thought this was a pretty fascinating documentary. And even though I have some qualms with the way they approach their story, and I think they maybe telegraph their feelings a little bit too much, this is a documentary that's extremely necessary. It's the documentary that the true crime genre has been desperately calling out for, in that it looks at what the consequence are of all these new true crime podcasts, true crime investigations, amateurs taking on the burden of getting to the bottom of what they're sure is a murder.
Yes.
In a way that I think will maybe make a lot of people question their own content decisions.
Yes.
I feel like if a Netflix or a Hulu is brave enough to have it sitting next to their long library of true crime documentaries, it'll be a big hit for whatever streamer wants to pick it up. I do wish they had maybe done some things a little bit less goofy, but I mean the content at least is really, really compelling. So
I want it so bad.
I'm very curious to see what the reaction to this one's going to be when it drops. Citizen Sleuth, my top documentary out of South by Southwest.
Top doc for me too.
Let's go back to Amanda for her number 7.
I think I'm going to go with Upon Entry.
Hell yeah. I got this one a little higher on my list.
A little higher,
Another
so we'll wait.
one that's got 3.
Yeah, just general premise of Upon Entry. It's like a couple. They're trying to immigrate into America from Spain, except one of them isn't originally from Spain, so that causes some. There's so many little hidden things going on here, and it's just like it's a very, very tense.
Yeah. What happens when they get called into for like a
secondary screening? The secondary screening, that basement room that no one wants to go to.
I have this as my number 7, so I'm going to double up everything you said. The fact that you're a couple who hasn't really gotten to know each other, and you get to know each other through this way. It's some really great performances because you're limited to what, 3 rooms in this whole movie,
and then the ending.
I mean,
yes, it's great.
It has the best like nail at the end of the film of anything I think we saw here. Just that final line is really, really excellent.
Only because we already saw Talk to Me. This is the next one up from that.
At least for a line, maybe.
That's what it was. We're three of us.
Yeah, but I think it's just such an excellent, tense film where like you're kind of like putting yourselves in the position of the characters because you also start to question things, and it's a really excellent film. I have it at number 5 on my list, so I like that one a lot.
That's great.
My number 6 is the movie you brought up just a little bit ago. It is Self-Reliance. Jake Johnson making his directorial debut.
That's my 5.
All right,
talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just. I love a high concept comedy, and this one has so many laughs throughout. It's such an interesting idea, and I love how much they commit to writing that line of how sane is he really. Jake Johnson particularly is so good as an actor at writing that line.
It also doesn't matter if he's right. He's insane.
No, but the best moment, it's all like, you want to do this? It's like, no, I don't want to do that. Oh yeah, okay, good. We have to do that. It's so good.
Yeah, he balanced that tone well.
It's absurd but grounded. It's so good, and another one with an excellent cast. I thought Anna Kendrick is also very good in this one. Good. So you had that at number 5. What do you have at number 6?
Pure O.
Okay.
Boom.
Double. Let's go.
Number 6 for both
Pure
of us here?
O, yes.
Okay, I really liked, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was very interesting. So like this character who is like learning that he has this very serious issue is also a therapist for other people. So you're watching him be so tender with these other people and really work them through like serious issues like addiction. And he's great at it, but then he's in the car on the ride home listening to an audio tape of himself saying, I grabbed the knife, I plunge it into all of these very intrusive thoughts that he's having.
Yes.
And it's intense, and it's like breaking him. It's breaking him so intensively and like affecting every aspect of his life. Yeah.
There's a particular therapy scene where he's with his significant other that is like one of the most emotionally compelling, or just, I don't know if I've felt a scene that viscerally in such a long time, especially when it's not like about like body horror or something. It's just the emotion of it and how difficult that moment is. It's so well done.
And then it didn't even necessarily seem like it was like cathartic for him by the end, you know? And then it was so hard, and it was like a real transition moment in the movie. So.
The director was also the writer. Well, I think was also the costumes, and I think was also
the editor and composer.
Composer.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So this is, to me, the definition of a freaking independent film.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went all out. There was also some shout outs and gave a couple of thanks to Bob Dylan, Craig Mazin.
He wears the Script Notes podcast, Craig Mazin screenwriting podcast T-shirt in part of the film.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I thought the performance in this and just the way that they're covering what he's going through, and you had mentioned like the therapy sessions, there's this beauty of being able to hear some things that the character is going through, but not having the fear that it's going to like take people away.
Yeah.
You have to enter that uncomfortableness to really get to the point of it.
Yeah.
I love this line. Things don't make us anxious. Anxiety is a state of mind. I recommend this highly. I'm glad all three of us have it. And I was seeing some people online were also really big fans of it. Some Intercuties were also shouting that out as one of their favorites and ones that they were anticipating. So
I'm glad to hear it. Yeah.
us.
I mean, it's just such a, I don't know. It's rare to see a film that dives that deeply into the mind, but makes it still some compelling and real and not melodramatic either.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Yeah, and just as someone who's been in plenty of therapy myself, like it's very visceral, very hard to watch parts of it. But
And then also,
so
like,
good.
it was really heartwarming too by the end. Like the letter at the end, I was like, oh my God, what a dude. This girl, you know?
It's great.
It's good.
Really, really good.
Also, the costumes were good. I wrote that down. They had no business. Like the actress who plays his wife always had a great fit on.
Yeah.
So I don't know who was. Maybe it was him too. Also was doing the costumes, but yeah, great one.
All right, so that was both of y'all's number 6. My number 5 I just mentioned was Upon Entry, so let's go back to Amanda. Did you mention your 5 already?
Self-Reliance.
Self-Reliance. Do you want to say anything more about that, or just echo what we've been?
Just echo. I do think it might have ended a little bit with too much finality, too clean. But then even it almost feels like it ended in a way that was clean. That everything building up to it didn't necessarily support it ending that clean. So that was a little bit weird. But the concept's fantastic. Yeah, no, really good, really fun, easy recommend.
Justice for Natalie Morales to finally be in a good relationship. Because South by just kept putting her in the worst scenarios. What's worse, this one or what they did to her in the other? Like,
Other one.
I just
The other one.
The other one was ridiculous. It would have never happened that way.
Never happened that way.
Exactly. I can't relate to a movie that's like, you know what? I don't want to date Natalie Morales.
That's exactly it.
Sorry, Caitlin.
She wants to date Natalie Morales too. We had this conversation.
I felt bad for her, but overall, this was one of the funniest ones, and had some of the best cameos, some of the best guest appearances.
Yeah, don't look up the cast on IMDb.
Just
enjoy it.
Yeah, that sucks.
I know, just leave it. Yeah.
Let's get back to you for your number 5.
All right, getting into the top 5 is Story Ave, which you have higher. Where do you have it?
I had a 9. We talked about it already.
Oh, did everybody else?
That's you.
Oh, okay. So yeah, no, this was based off of a short, and it comes from a director who has worked with so many people.
Aristotle Torres.
Yeah, dude, he's done. He did the short for the Sundance Labs. He's worked with J. Cole, Nas, Two Chainz, and then just done a bunch of commercials for a bunch of brands from Starbucks to Red Bull. So I was like curious if this was going to be, a little too studio friendly, or if it was going to be a decent independent film. No, he knocked it out of the park with this one. It's also produced by Jamie Foxx and what's his name, Guzman, who is in the movie as well.
EP credit, yeah.
Dude, Asante Black, he's been killing it. We had seen Landscape with Invisible Hand.
Another movie where he paints walls.
Yes, he loves painting, and in that one, I don't know. There's just something about the writing in that movie. I didn't see him as a character, as someone who was raised by that mother.
That's fair.
This was it.
Yeah.
This was it. It shoots New York beautifully. It has great performances from everybody involved. And just that premise of a kid getting a gun to go rob somebody to prove himself.
And then that guy invites him for
And
dinner.
that guy invites him for dinner. Yeah, watch the movie when it comes out. I don't know if it's got a release date or anything like that, but Story Avenue was definitely a standout at the festival.
Yeah, I could see some people finding it maybe a little bit saccharine, but it completely worked for me.
It's worth it.
It's so sweet and kind-hearted and just empathetic to everybody involved. Has these moments though that just completely devastate.
There was our actor dude from right there.
Melvin Gregg, yes.
Bro.
The American Vandal dude.
Bro.
High Flying Bird.
He was so good in this movie.
He's great.
He's so great in this movie because there's another one and I'm blanking on what the movie was, but it was someone pretending to be like a gang leader, and I'm like, you don't got. He got it down perfectly. He also had these fits on. It was these knockoff champion. It said criminal, and it wasn't Patagonia. What's the other one? It's a really big
North
brand.
Face?
No. Carhartt.
Carhartt. Right,
And it also said criminal.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's this? We searched it up. Yeah, it's like an actual brand out there. I was like, and it's hot in New York. And I'm like, yes, this is someone who's got the nuances of the area. Yeah. So, a fantastic film. Easily cleared my top 5 from the moment I saw it.
Absolutely. All right. Love another shout out for Story Ave. Getting into our top 4s. I think this may be my most recent of my top 10. I'm not sure. I got the Artifice Girl up here.
Oh,
nice.
I thought this was an incredibly compelling film about AI and the implementation of it and the ethics of it, and that all sounds really heady and boring, and this movie is not those things. We all kind of came out of it thinking it's a lot like a play. It does feel like a play in 3 acts. I'd love to see it live, but I think there's also like a real visual ingenuity and real eye for putting these images together. I don't know. It just it feels like Sorkinian dialogue, just
Especially
sort of
that first act.
going back and forth, kind of interrupting each other. I love this one small moment where he's talking about the service. He says they're in an undisclosed location. They ask him where. He says, in an undisclosed location.
So your apartment in an undisclosed location.
Yeah, it's like one of those films that really does like repeated lines and like little exchanges like that really, really well. Feels kind of small, feels kind of indie, but I don't think that takes away from just how thought-provoking so much of this is. Yeah. It's a film that I really like right now, but I also would not be surprised if I think it's great 10 years from now.
I want to catch it again because I feel like the first scene really stood out to me, and then I don't know if it like maintained that level of like hype that I had from that first act through it. I thought it was still really good. I don't know. I think my mind wanted it to be something else.
Yeah, I hear that.
And I know that's on me, so I got to watch it again, knowing it opens. I had no idea what it was. So it opens and it breaks down like what's going on. I wanted to go more in that direction, and it went more in that direction.
Yeah.
That direction's still super compelling,
decent,
super interesting. My mind was just kind of like, I want to see what's going on over here. Let's open that box.
I like how you broke it down saying it was a play. I think
it feels like that
would make it hit a lot better for me. But that's another one I want to
especially when you get to that third act.
The premise is crazy though.
If you do a play, the tech stuff, do you have a screen on? Do you have a screen? I guess you have a screen on stage.
The tech wasn't
that makes
that
sense.
crazy.
No, but I mean like, it's a play, people are
way that
talking.
it works,
You got a screen, I guess.
I'm in a box.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
So yeah, I got Artifice Girl at my number 4. Amanda, what you have at your number 4?
My number 4 is Down Low. Anybody got higher, I think, probably?
A little bit higher.
Did a little bit higher?
Just
Yeah,
a
well,
little
wait.
bit
But Down Low, basically, we got a repressed gay man who is finally trying to kind of like explore that side of himself. And the young man, I think I called him the fairy gay mother, who's come in to try to like whisk him on his way. And then it just starts getting so absurd as the worst possible scenarios keep happening to them. And it all kind of piles in a way that is so outrageous, so raunchy, so disturbing, but then also so heartwarming and wholesome by the end of it.
Yeah. The absolutely most depraved, sweet movie you'll ever see.
Yeah, very depraved, very sweet.
Yeah, and it's because of how disgusting that it gets that Zachary Quinto ended up giving probably. It's just a look that he gives after a dance sequence.
Yeah. There's no good reason why a movie this absurd and just frankly gross at points should have made me cry.
It's filthy.
But it made me cry.
Yeah, we should have walked out.
I've seen more
We
gross. Come on, you're making it sound like they're eating shit or something.
Yeah, it's
like,
not Mother Schmuckers, but
it ain't Mother
it's gonna be
Schmuckers.
too much for a lot of
It's
people.
the idea of Mother Schmuckers are like doofuses. These seem like real people, so the things they find themselves in ends up like tested a lot of people's patience at our screening.
Yeah, most walkouts I saw at a film this
Yeah, but
festival.
it's still only like 8 people.
That's more people than.
Yeah, but it's still more.
It was also the one that y'all got to see at the stateside too. So that's like a theater where you're looking at everybody who's in there. But yeah, I have that in my number 3.
Nice.
With the biggest warning for those who may not like this type of humor, but I think when you dig into this type of humor, you're able to get some heart out of it at the end.
And had our favorite song of the festival. We were listening to it every day.
Still in my head.
Okay, so that's your number 3, but what was your number 4?
Problemista.
Okay, let's talk about it a little more.
This is a movie where it helped me.
Take a new attitude into parts of your life.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's like a great sign is like you bring a lesson from the movie with you around.
100%.
Put it in your pocket.
Probably one of the most profound Q&As because of the way that they were breaking down how they view being in the industry, especially with a movie dealing in the art world with someone who's been fixated as an art critic in Tilda Swinton, but then someone who's, coming up, but not just coming up, being held back. And this being picked up by A24, I think is the perfect place to get it because I think that's the audience that is craving a movie like this. Julio Torres knocked it out of the park. I think his visionary work of what he was trying to showcase in his, as he jokes, melodramatic way, I thought was really intriguing. And I ended up really liking, I sat with it, I'm like, this is a 3.5. Then I went to bed and it was a 4. And then I took some advice from the movie to YouTube, and I'm like, this is a 4.5. So this is one that's gonna keep growing on me. I know we've been using the words like quirky or offbeat and stuff, and those feel like wrong words because all it is people like him just haven't been given the chance.
It's singular is maybe the best way to put it because it doesn't feel like it could have come from anybody but his mind.
It's only a new vision because you haven't given him the chance. But there's stand-up performances, and RZA had no business being that good in the movie. And there's a bank joke that I mentioned that it's top 5 of the year.
We mentioned this in our review, but just them as an odd couple with Tilda being this hugely energetic, can't get a word in person, and he's so timid and quiet. It's great.
It juxtaposed perfectly.
Yeah, they are so fun opposite each other. All right, so Problemista you got at your number 4, we said. But we're back to me for my number 3, and I'll just say, I feel like our number 3s is going to be a lot of overlap, so I'll just say my number 3 is I Used to Be Funny and pass it off to Amanda for her number 3.
BlackBerry.
Which is going to go up here again. So what is your number 3 we just talked about? Down Low. Anything else on Down Low, or...
We have a whole review for it. I just say give it a chance. I agree, it's not the worst thing, but I know that some people will be deterred by it.
But is it going to be because it's gay? Because I actually don't think it's as disturbing as half the things I've seen at film festivals.
I think the jokes are too raunchy for people.
Yeah.
This is way raunchier than
everything involved with Simon Rex character is going to be a little bit over the edge for
maybe I'm
some
just
people.
a debaucherous individual, but I'm they didn't do anything with it. He's just saying things. He's just saying things, guys.
This is the generation that doesn't even want sex scenes in their movie. They don't want this stuff discussed.
There isn't one with that scenario, so they should be fine with it.
All right.
I'd still recommend it.
My number 2 is BlackBerry. Again, that will come up. Amanda's number 2.
I Used to Be Funny.
I Used to Be Funny.
What are we playing here? Hot potato? I Used to Be Funny.
Your number 2 as well. All right.
So now we can talk about that.
So this is my number 2. It's your number 3, and it's your
2.
It's a pretty high
That's
recommendation.
a pretty solid recommendation.
Because it's good.
We do have a full review of this one coming, or maybe on the channel already, so you can check out our fuller thoughts there. But just in brief, I mean, what really stood out to you about I Used to Be Funny?
Rachel's performance, first and foremost. This is her dealing with the PTSD from an incident that is closely related to a family that she was nannying / au pairing for. And then how that incident affected kind of every aspect of her life, and that it's kind of prevented her from doing her stand-up comedy, which is what she was known for. She was kind of on the brink of breaking through, and how this kind of really just shuttered her life. And as it's in a non-linear way, bringing us through her story to the point of we find out what happens as she's also kind of healing through it. And just the dynamic with all the different characters is so good. And it is so funny at the same time. For something dealing with such a serious issue, it is so funny, and a lot of dealing with serious issues with jokes and just casual
because
throwaways.
all these characters, or most of these characters, are comedians. They're able to process their own feelings through comedy. And we talked about it a little in our review, just the sort of self-deprecating nature and
millennial and Gen Z humor, which is just there.
And it just feels very true and very real and hysterical and emotional. Art, what'd you like most about the film?
It saved the genre of comedy drama. There are so many of these where we call it dramedy. Dramedy is like a slur. Let's just be a buck. No one's ever...
You know the joke from, what's the Comeback, the Lisa Kudrow show? I did a dramedy. It's like a comedy, but they took out all the jokes.
Oh, no.
This is a comedy drama, and it's specifically putting the comedy first, because I think that it's a genre that gets belittled a lot. I think, big franchises use it as a way to get away with stuff. Other franchises that are horrors try to use it to get away with stuff. And I think it gets underappreciated. We don't really see comedies get nominated for prestigious awards So this is a movie that I think showcases how if you can just ride the line of not having it be like a punchline with a little clap factor, when you have to hide the punchlines, now it's serious.
Yeah.
And this was able to balance it perfectly where on a rewatch, I didn't realize how many jokes were funny because as they're arguing, they're saying something that's really hysterical. So and comedy, drama. This is the epitome of that.
A lot of movies that are sort of about one character's internal struggle, I feel like kind of limit their interest to that one character. And this is the opposite of that. And that everybody's really considered, every scene really matters, and it builds the puzzle of her life. And even though you don't necessarily feel like you have a full idea of what's going on until maybe about halfway through the film, like you're just sort of engrossed in trying to learn more. And the way they reveal things about her, I thought was extremely effective and very true. It never really hit like a beat where I was like, I don't think it'd be like that. Like it just felt authentic to this experience.
Because another one that you had that I kind of liked, it would have been an honorable mention this era, was Korobora.
And I didn't get that same feeling.
Yeah,
personally, at least I know y'all liked it better.
Yeah, but you felt like, and I agree with you, it kind of goes off and becomes something like, I don't know if people would have put up with
the believability of her character.
Yes, this is one where it's leading more dramedy than it is comedy. I still like to give it a recommendation, but I used to be funny.
It's the one, man.
Fantastic. And whoever made this fan poster,
you did a good job.
Shout out to y'all.
All right, so that's your number two. Your number two. My number three. I used to be funny. Yeah. We're back to my number two, which is BlackBerry.
Which is my number three. And your number one.
But it's Sunday and it's after 9. So what are we at?
I think we're at Amanda's number one first.
Bottoms.
Let's talk about it because that's my number one as well.
Cool.
Ooh. Okay. We got a full review of it.
She just starts crying for a minute, that's the pitch.
It's just fun. Like Emma and Rachel together is just magic. This is like so different from Shiva Baby, but also there is a through line to the comedy there that it'll feel familiar. But so it's basically, this is again, I'm gonna shout out Arts, like so Not Another Teen Fight Club.
Yeah.
This is like a group of teenage girls who start a fight club under the guise of it being to help like the feminism in the club and help protecting women and empowering, but it's really so that they can get closer to the girls that they have crushes on and want to sleep with. And I always find I think it's really refreshing to have a movie that just points out that like girls can be horny little weirdos too. And like, and come across as like a little bit predatory in a way.
So when you go to a girl's house and she has the Bottoms poster, treat it like the Fight Club.
Treat it like the Fight Club poster. It is. It's going to be like that.
That's funny, bro. Funny. That's hilarious.
And it's just so good because it is. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't objectify people in this way. And they have to kind of learn that message.
Wrong.
But teenagers are like that. All teenagers are horny.
It feels both very true to the teenage experience and completely ridiculous. And of another world.
That's what I'm saying.
But like that they're able to balance both halves of that is really special, and that they sneak these kind of like emotional, vulnerable moments in between absolutely hilarious jokes, I think speaks to how talented Rachel Sennett and Emma Seligman are as screenwriters. Emma Seligman, also an extremely talented director. Just the blocking of this movie blew me away. I was ready to drop Spielbergian on Twitter, and I just held back on that because I didn't want to get yelled at.
So they beat you with Scorsese.
She's Selignian.
Right, exactly. I don't know. It's just, I was so impressed with not only how much fun it is, but how dense it is.
For what it is.
Yeah, it's not like, it's not desperate or sweaty or trying too hard. It just kind of is hilarious. And it is real. And it is absurd too. And I'm just always a fan of a comedy that can pack in as many good jokes as this one does.
That was the other one that was really hard to catch certain things because it was going so quickly that the audience couldn't stop.
They ruined Marshawn Lynch's joke in the credits.
I couldn't hear shit.
I knew it was funny because the punchline's funny, but I wanted to see what led it there. Does this have a release?
I don't think it has a confirmed release date yet, but if they're smart, they'll put it out this summer.
It's good, guys. It's good.
Oh, it's MGM.
Yeah, so that's a theatrical.
It has to be theatrical.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to catching this one again.
Yeah.
All right, so your number one, my number one is Bottoms, but let's go to Art's number one.
Where'd y'all have it?
I had a number two.
3. So it's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 to 1.
BlackBerry, baby! Yes. Oh, we saw the second cut of the film. I don't know how much more is going to get cut. But this is the movie about the inception of a BlackBerry, the ups and downs not just of the making of this phone, the compromising of it, how it influenced the culture to a degree that I didn't realize a lot of the stuff that we have in our phones today were ideas that came out of these guys right here. It talks about the corporate world and how you need those people to kind of, maneuver yourself into places. But then it's also this story about friendship and these two guys who created something and how much compromise before you don't just lose your vision, you lose yourself.
Yes.
Ooh. Did y'all ever have a BlackBerry?
No.
I did, yeah.
Which one do you have?
I don't remember, but it was not the one that touchscreen one.
It was the Rolly one that my brother had, bro.
Yeah, the Rolly.
Yeah, I messaged him immediately after this. I was like, this is your movie.
I don't think I ever felt cooler with a phone than getting a BBM. Like that was a dope feeling.
I had a Palm Pilot with the touchscreen, so when they were doing the competitor stuff, I was like, oh dang,
I didn't get a nice phone until the 3GS came out. So like before that, I still had a flip.
I thought this movie hit on all cylinders. It's the exact comedy that I really like. It's shot beautifully, shot behind like a window and another thing. It's just,
It's this camera that's really like finds the action and moves, lots of really fun zooms, like so many zooms that just ended in a hilarious expression. But it's like, I want to give it that mockumentary style, but it's even more chaotic than a documentary.
Yeah, because it's the idea of like we had Tetris, we had Air. All of those movies does kind of feel like the corporate people were looking over them. I don't think they ever talked to a BlackBerry
and they acknowledge that. They
all.
acknowledge that because they're like, we're not telling their story the way they would want it to be told, or even if we're worrying about it being accurate. We're just saying these are the bullet points, and we're doing whatever we want in between.
They actually laughed and said, we're responsible for how people are going to know these people.
Yeah, literally.
The rest
We're
of their
responsible
lives.
for the reputation going forward.
Raw. Yeah, I love seeing a movie about a big corporation from the outsider. And Matt Johnson, I feel, has always been that in the projects that he's made. And yeah, he brings it in here with so much energy.
It's very exciting because you feel the Matt Johnson-ness of it, but it's just utilized in the best way possible.
Because some people can get in their own way.
Yes.
I don't think he does.
No, and he very smartly...
Maybe I just like it too much.
No, but I think it's very smart in how it deploys certain things. Like when the movie needs to be a little bit more serious,
It does.
It does. He's so hilarious in it, but he also doesn't make himself the focus of the film.
Yeah.
It's a time capsule comedy. It's a corporate thriller. It's a drama of hubris. It's so many things at the same time, and it succeeds in all of those. I found it to be hysterical and exhilarating.
No, it was great.
It's a great time.
It's a really great time.
It's a 2-hour movie you want to keep going.
Yes.
That's what
I mean. I'm like, I want more. Give me more.
You feel the ending coming, and it's like, it's so perfect it shouldn't be anything else, but damn, I could have hung out more.
Right?
That's
Coulda
exactly
hung out
it.
more.
Yeah.
And I think the idea that it feels like a mockumentary without being a mockumentary, I think that's what that Q&A question was trying to get at. Some guy was like, is this satirizing your things like your big shorts, your bigger things? And then I think they took it as like an insult.
Like a Spinal Tap.
Yeah. And I'm like, no.
Bet for the biodramas.
Yeah, but it's like, it's not.
Stop, you making me like it more. That's a 4.5 right there.
because-
Oh, that's a 4.5 right there.
He was like, we stole things. I'm like, no, my God, he's not saying you stole things from those other movies. He's saying that you did this thing that has become like a cliche that all of these bullet point things are doing, and you flipped it because you didn't give a shit, and you're openly acknowledging that you didn't give a shit. You kind of did the Social Network thing, but like in a more fun way while taking it serious. That was a compliment question. You took it as an insult.
I had it at number 1. I'm gonna have to move it up.
Yeah,
It's good.
It's really good. I can't wait to watch that one again.
Yeah,
either. Lots of great films at this year's South by South.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah, good one.
Great lineup. I'm glad that we had some movies that y'all gonna remember. I think we were able to get some posters too. I know you guys like getting the posters for your first film festival, and they were pretty beautiful. But
Pretty exclusive.
Yeah. Overall, we had a lot of overlap. I'm looking at a lot of the stuff that we have here from BlackBerry, which I just reopened. I used to be funny, Down Low, Problemista. Did you have it in your top 10?
I did, yeah.
Ooh, there
Yeah,
we go.
all of those in our top 10.
Storyev, I'm gonna count as 2.5 because she had as an honorable mention. Pure O,
All three of
Upon
ours.
Entry,
All three of ours.
Self-Reliance,
All three of
and
ours.
Bottoms. We literally only
That's
had
the
one
thing.
or two that didn't.
We are in agreement about a lot of these movies. Yeah. Which is kind of unique because I feel like we tend to have, there's always some overlap, but Sundance, our lists weren't this aligned.
No, I'm
so
surprised
it's
you
not-
like Bottoms as much as you do.
Yeah.
I just am in it for like a high school comedy
I know,
that
right?
goes to these places.
Yeah.
I thought it was dope.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm just really excited for more people to get to catch these movies because we like the Sundance movies. Sometimes we recommend films that are not going to be big breakouts, and I feel like almost any film we mentioned on this top 10 could be a big breakout.
I think Upon Entry is the least chance of like doing big, and that's not because it's not good. It's just that like
it's a smaller movie. 73
it's
minutes
simple,
long, so another thing I think in its favor because it
is
doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
Last year, I sat in the theater and watched a little movie called Everything Everywhere All at Once at this South by
So
Southwest.
what's going to be Oscar nominated from this festival?
Oh, sheesh. Well, Bottoms played at the exact
That's
time
what I
slot,
thought.
exactly 365 days afterwards. So, I mean, that could be a big one there. Obviously, we're rooting for BlackBerry, but I don't see him playing the Oscar game. So, and that's why I love it so much. But no, I think Bottoms, it is a comedy, so it probably isn't going to go all the way in that sense. But we were talking about maybe some awards for Problemista. I used to be funny, could get some like Gotham stuff, but you never know.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I'll mention is that this year the Academy did nominate 3 comedies for Best Picture, which is unlike them. So I don't think it is out of the question for
Everything?
Triangle of Sadness, and there was one more in there that I'm forgetting,
But they have like a very heavy...
other undertone. Like there's
yeah,
a
the
heavier
undertone.
other things of other
Which,
things.
don't get me wrong, a movie like Bottoms and all those do, but again, because it doesn't have that seriousness like hand-to-hand with
Banshees
it.
of Inisherin. So
That's a drama.
I laughed a lot at that. I'm going to go 3.5 too because Tar
If
isn't
you
there.
saw that at TIFF, you would have a different, and I get maybe that's a hit against the movie, but that movie was fucking funny.
Yeah, I think that's the funniest movie I saw last year.
Oh, you counting Tar as a comedy?
3.5.
It's a three.
That's the half. Tar.
That's the half. Yeah.
Would you put it as a horror? That's an Oscar stock.
No, man. Tar ends as a comedy. There's no fucking way that like when you realize that's fucking funny.
All that to say, there's a world in which Bottoms or BlackBerry is considered. I wouldn't bet on it, and it'd be a surprise. But I think there's a world in which they could break through.
I think they take turns. So Sundance got it. South by got it.
Right.
I think it's time for Tribeca.
But I think that the through line is feel good, and I don't think Bottoms gets that. I used to be funny does, but I don't see it getting there. But like, cause like, Coda was just the feel good.
Feel good.
Everything is a feel
everybody
good.
gives you the feel good.
The winner.
I don't know if Triangle or Banshees are feel good.
No. So I'm talking about the winners. Like if the winners traded.
Oh
off.
yeah, I wouldn't pick them to win, but
So the next one must be at Con.
yeah, we'll see. Anyway, I think that just about wraps it.
I think so.
Thanks as always for checking out the stuff. Amanda, you can find more from you. On,
everywhere. Letterboxd, YouTube, Twitch sometimes, all at Amanda the Jedi. I'm on Twitter a lot too.
Arturo.
You can find me at LME Explain on Twitter, Facebook, Letterboxd, or at an Airbnb cleaning my sheets.
And I'm Zshevich on Twitter, on Letterboxd, on Instagram, as well as Multiplex Show on TikTok and YouTube. This is Intercut. We talk about movies. You should give us 5 stars on iTunes or Spotify or whatever podcatcher you're subscribed to us on, and subscribe to us on YouTube, probably where you're watching us and where we do weekly movie talks and reviews and festival coverage like this. And
Shout out all the intercuties we saw at South by.
oh yeah,
It's been so great running into people. You're all great.
It's always just like really heartening. So if you see us, definitely say hi to us. There's somebody who I gave my ticket to, and then I heard them say, "That's Zachary Shevich." It was like a whole other weird experience.
Well, I just do that to her all the time. I love calling her out in line when I'm going to it.
literally do it. He'd be like, "Oh my god, it's Amanda the Jedi." He's like, "What are you doing?"
Then just stop and just stare at her. But yeah.
Yeah, but shout out to all the people who saw Hunter, who also saw our preview, Nick and Wiley.
So if we were able to put a good recommendation on your list, a new film festival, some tips and tricks, leave us a like, leave us a comment what your favorite was, what we missed that we should talk about. And
You got a quote? I got a quote.
say it.
I gotta find it though.
Maybe next time I'll be gay and talented.
There you go. That's a good one. That's my favorite way to be an ally. Just say you're doing something and then don't do anything.
So sad.